Alrighty, guys, what is going on? This is the SS Ultimate Goku back with another video, and so today I want to talk about this. I want to just talk about everything really that's coming out. Um, so a couple things. I wanted to talk about here is first I wanted to also mainly talk about the Raw promo yesterday with CM Punk, which was about 6 minutes. I was kind of disappointed how much time he got. I really felt that should have opened the show, not closed the show. Um, Apparently, we're finding out that Bruce Pritchard, um, you know, uh, Brother Love, was the person who was running the show. He wrote the script or whatever and did all the stuff for the show. Triple H wasn't there, so that might have explained why the show wasn't that, on pace of what it normally is when Triple H is running it. Because there was something off about that show, because I felt like it should have been more order than it should have, in my opinion, but it didn't. Uh, but anyways, so the show for what it was an okay show. But again, CM Punk, the lack of time probably hurt the promo, which really sucks because again, he should have gotten as much time as he can. They should have cut some of the matches times down. Especially when you had commercial free for the first hour. So that was really unfortunate that the promo was cut short. Because you only get really one chance to really do that. Punk's promo was kind of a little off from a lot of people's perspectives. I've seen some people trying to say that it's PG Punk, and I'm really kind of wondering why people think it's PG Punk when CM Punk was on top in WWE when WWE was PG to begin with. This is his only first promo back. CM Punk's going to still be CM Punk. They're not changing his character. He's still the same guy. He used a lot of things that was from AEW that he used when he made his epic return to professional wrestling when he joined AEW. He did use a lot of that stuff. Excuse me. But the thing is, it was what it was. A lot of people ask me, did it have the same impact as the AEW promo that he had when he returned a couple of years ago? And I would say no, because I had already seen it in AEW. So in terms of the impact of his return to WWE, it didn't. I was happy that he was back because obviously I love CM Punk, but the promo didn't reach to me as much as the one he did in AEW because that was literally his return to professional wrestling in general. So it wasn't the same. Now, it may have been better had this been his first promo back in professional wrestling, period, but it wasn't. And we knew that, despite them trying to pretend that, I guess, they're trying to pretend that Punk never was a part of AEW, or at least that's how the promo was portrayed. He said 10 years and that stuff. It was portrayed in a certain way that it made you feel like that this has been the first time that he's been back since the last time he was in WWE. And we all know that we all know that isn't true, of course. wrestling fans that follow both products or just like wrestling in general, we all know that CM Punk was in AEW. All right. Maybe casuals or just pure WWE fans don't know that, but we know that. We know that. So them ignoring that, I mean, that doesn't mean you have to mention AEW. I'm not saying that the WWE had to mention AEW specifically, but I do feel like you need to acknowledge that this is not his actual return to professional wrestling. Like this, like he was wrestling for 2 years in AEW. Okay, like or at least he was on the AEW roster for 2 years. I guess technically not full 2 years because he was injured for 10 months, but he was on that roster. Okay. Like, you cannot deny that. You cannot deny that he was on that roster. Okay? Doesn't mean he had to take shots against it. And, again, in terms of the promo, I do think the promo was a little lackluster. But I think, again, you give him only 6 minutes to talk. I mean, he should have at least had 10 to 15 minutes to cut a fucking promo. Okay? He got 6 minutes to fucking cut a promo. So there's not much you can really do with that, especially when you want to talk about everything that you want to cover. So maybe there would have been more to the promo had he got more time to talk. But again, Bruce Pritchard ran on time constraints. I don't know, like he made some of the matches too long. So that's what we got. And it was an okay promo for what it was. I don't think it's a sign that this is quote-unquote PG Punk. Punk is still going to be Punk. If people really think that they're going to turn Punk's character, no, he's still going to be CM Punk. He's still going to be what he is. I mean, he's not going to say a lot of as much stuff as he said in AEW. AEW allowed him to say a lot of things that he wouldn't be able to say in WWE because WWE's PG. But, he was PG. He was in a PG product before when he was in WWE, so I don't know why people would be surprised by that. But anyways, so news that came out today was about Daniel Bryan. And during the broadcast of Monday Night Raw, Daniel Bryan had tweeted an interesting tweet. About sometimes you have to, do what you feel is right or something like that, or something. He was referencing his father in a tweet, but he wasn't the only person who was tweeting stuff out. There were other people that were tweeting stuff out. Top wrestlers in AEW or or talent in AEW were, and it was really weird. That at CM Punk's expense coming back to WWE, that like they're like, oh yeah, we gotta like put out this positive spin on AEW. So from what I've heard is that apparently what happened is that Tony Khan was very, very scared and / upset about CM Punk making his return to WWE, and he was worried that he was going to try and take a jab at AEW. And because of this, the information was getting leaked, and scoopers were picking it up. And one of the things that just came out within the past few hours is apparently Daniel Bryan is on this quote-unquote discipline committee that Tony Khan created, this mythical position that he created for the talent is called a discipline committee. And the discipline committee recommended that Punk should be fired, and this is what led to Tony Khan firing CM Punk. So apparently, the head of the discipline committee is Daniel Bryan, and Daniel Bryan made the recommendation to fire CM Punk. Now, I am very, very skeptical if this is actually true, but if it is what it is. But here's why I'm really skeptical on this, because he put this out the night he comes back to the WWE Monday Night Raw. That's when he puts this out. Why wasn't this put out when Punk was fired? Why wasn't it put out when TK could have come out and said, discipline committee was Daniel Bryan, and Daniel Bryan made the decision to fire CM Punk. He didn't do that. He didn't do that, which to me is really bizarre. If you wanted to get really on front of this whole thing, you would have tried to spin a narrative as much as you could. So this is where I'm kind of skeptical on this whole Daniel Bryan thing. But I do sort of kind of believe it. But at the same time, I kind of don't. But then, of course, Daniel Bryan did make that tweet the way he made it. And Daniel Bryan is, obviously Daniel Bryan is a nice guy. I'm a huge Daniel Bryan fan. So I'm not trying to take anything away from Daniel Bryan. Okay? Bryan Danielson. Because you guys know I was a big Daniel Bryan fan. I was huge during that Yes Movement thing. I was all for him main eventing WrestleMania 30. Everyone knows that. I was totally invested in Daniel Bryan. But I will say this right now. Number one, if this is true, this makes TK look worse. Okay, this doesn't make him look better. So I don't know why TK would try to leak this out. Because it makes it worse in the sense that yet another wrestler is involved in making decisions for himself. Tony Khan is supposed to be the boss. He is supposed to be the owner of the company. Okay? He is supposed to be the Vince McMahon of AEW. Okay? He is supposed to be making those damn decisions. He is supposed to be the one that is overseeing his wrestlers to make sure that this shit doesn't happen. Like fights, drama, backstage, all this crap. He is supposed to be making this decision. And I tell this to people because what TK, because I've been saying this for months now, is that TK is not a boss. He is not a boss. And that is just a fact of the matter. I made a short about this months ago. He is not a boss. He is not a boss. I don't care that he's liked by people. He's not a boss. He doesn't act like a boss. He doesn't act like a boss. He acts like a mark. He acts like a glorified mark. That he is a rich guy. He is a rich billionaire that is leeching off of his money, okay, and paying wrestlers, and then just giving them whatever they want because he wants to be liked, okay? That is literally not a boss. Say what you guys want to say about Vince McMahon, because, God, don't get me wrong, Vince McMahon has a lot of checkered past, and he was god-awful and creative for the past 10, 15 years now. Okay, I'm not saying that Vince McMahon is fucking, the greatest of great. He has had his fucking problems, in creative. But there's one denominator that goddamn well, that Vince McMahon would not be allowing he would not be allowing his talent to do the shit that their talent does in AEW. That is one thing that we all know factually would never happen. The fact that he allows these EVPs to still be EVPs after all the bullshit that they did with CM Punk. The fact that they still are fucking doing what they're doing. The fact that he allows the other wrestlers to just do what they want, fight. And make no mistake about it, there's going to be more fights in AEW. Because there's still drama in AEW despite CM Punk not being there. When Punk was out with an injury for 10 months, guess what? There was a fight. You had Andrade, you had Sammy, you had freaking Eddie Kingston and Sammy. Like, you have fights going on backstage. But yet somehow this derives towards CM Punk. It is not a CM Punk issue. This is not a CM Punk issue. The only reason why they're blaming CM Punk is because he's a mainstream star. And they're jealous of his spot on the card. Okay? That's literally the only reason. Okay? Now, with Daniel Bryan being the one that decided, supposedly, that he fired CM Punk, again, this all comes down to Tony Khan, because Tony Khan just took his recommendation. Okay? I don't like the idea that a talent made a recommendation for a boss to fire somebody, especially your top draw. And obviously, I don't agree with Punk being fired, and then you allow Jack Perry to stay on the damn roster. Because Jack Perry went into business for himself. He went into business for himself. Make no mistake about it. And a lot of people asking me, it was like, why do I think Jack Perry shouldn't be the devil? Okay, he shouldn't be the devil because you're rewarding him for bad behavior. You are giving him a main stage push that he does not deserve. And quite frankly, there are better guys that I think deserve that spot more than Jack Perry. Jack Perry is not fucking good on the mic. He's admitted that he's not good on the mic despite his father being a goddamn famous actor. Okay, dude has no fucking charisma. Okay, and he's wrestling is not that good. Okay, out of all the pillars, out of all the four pillars, obviously MJF is the best out of those four pillars. Darby Allin is second best. I could see him being a future world champion. Sammy Guevara could be a future world champion, but, you know, he's got his own goddamn problems backstage that's holding him back. But Jungle Boy is the least important pillar in that entire pillar group, or whatever they try to portray. Hell, I would say Ricky Starks is a better pillar than Jack Perry, and technically Ricky Starks is not a pillar since he wasn't there originally from the beginning. Okay? Ricky Starks deserves that damn push, okay, which he was getting until they fired CM Punk. Okay? So in terms of this whole thing with Jack Perry should have been fired. Okay? And that's another thing. If you fire CM Punk, you have to fire Jack Perry. If I was in charge, I would have just fired Jack Perry. Because Jack Perry caused the issue by going into business for himself. Okay? He went into business for himself. This whole thing's a mess. This whole thing is a mess. Because you don't fire your top draw in the company. You don't. AEW has taken a huge hit, whether you like it or not. Will AEW still be in business for a while? Yes, they will. They have a TV deal. They're going to be fine in terms of that front. But their ratings have taken a huge nosedive. And that's a fact of the matter. They are not growing. They are going under. They're going under, like, in terms of down. Down in viewers. They are down in viewers. They are down in merchandise sales. They are down, okay, right now. And that's not good. They're not excelling, which is what they should be doing. Ironically, they could have done that if they put Daniel Bryan as the champion, but, you know, that's another follow-up they did. But, again, you know, and again, their top guy, MJF, is a bland babyface now, instead of keeping him what made him great in the first place, and that is the heel, the ultimate heel. You know, an ultimate heel like MJF should never have turned face. He should have been like a Ric Flair. He doesn't turn face until, like, towards the end of his career as an old guy. Okay? Freaking, during his prime, MJF should always be a heel. Should always be a heel. That's the type of character that he is. Okay? Not some bland-ass babyface. Okay? But yeah, this whole thing with Punk could have been avoided had he just not fired him. He should never have fired him. Never fired him. I rank it up with Ric Flair being fired by WCW, being fired by Jim Herd. I rank it up with them. It's like, you literally handed him to Triple H. Just like how Jim Herd from WCW handed the current world champion in WCW/NWA to Vince McMahon. He literally handed him to him. And it hurt WCW because it hurt their legitimacy because they fired their current champion. Okay? You know, it hurts AEW's legitimacy. You brought Punk in to legitimize the brand, and now you're firing him, who is legitimizing your brand, and now your brand has taken a nosedive from it. Okay? And I don't think they're going to recover from it. You've lost Cody, the only sane EVP on that EVP list. Okay? You lost CM Punk by your own volition. You lost Jade Cargill, but I don't think she's that much of a loss. I mean, WWE is going to train her to be a better wrestler, but I still have to wait and see moment on that. But the point being is they're losing. Oh yeah, and they also lost Brian Pillman too. Brian Pillman Jr. Lexi King, as he calls himself now. Who's got potential. Has and he's going to be NXT and fully try to develop his skills. But the point being is that AEW is digging themselves in a deep, deep hole, and the directions that they're going, supposedly they're trying to go more for the New Japan Pro Wrestling style. How are they going to compete against New Japan Pro Wrestling style? Especially since most people that are watching AEW, this is another thing about AEW's product that kind of baffles me, is not everybody that watches AEW cares about the Japanese, like, New Japan Pro Wrestling style. Like, I never watched any New Japan Pro Wrestling until AEW. Like, I started tuning in for AEW because I wanted it to be an alternative to WWE. All right, because I didn't like how WWE was being booked at the time. And that's what most wrestling fans that started tuning into AEW cared about. They cared about an alternative. So you had another, kind of WCW type thing where you had WWE and WCW. That's what I wanted AEW to be. I didn't want it to be a New Japan like thing. Most of the fans of AEW don't care about that. I can tell you that right now. If you're a New Japan Pro Wrestling fan, you're probably just going to watch New Japan Pro Wrestling, not AEW. You know what I'm saying? Like, AEW needs to establish themselves as their own brand and not trying to copy, like, a different direction, or a direction that's already there for people to watch. Like, if you're a New Japan Pro Wrestling fan, just watch New Japan Pro Wrestling. Why do you need to watch AEW to get that satisfaction? You don't. AEW needs to establish themselves as something else. WCW, back in the day before they collapsed in 2000, they established themselves, different from WWE. They did, obviously the NWO, and they, focused more on the heels than the conquering baby faces. Where WWE was kind of always more for the baby faces conquering the heels. You know what I'm saying? They established themselves as something different. AEW just seems like they want to just be like New Japan Pro Wrestling. They do the collab with New Japan Pro Wrestling with Forbidden Door, but it just seems like they want to collab and do that instead of trying to make their own identity, of what AEW should be. And that's something that I'm not really into. And, of course, their best wrestler, Christian, right now, who's been doing their best work so far, he's, nowhere near the world title, which is kind of weird because I'd make him the world champion right now, but he's a TNT championship champion right now. Yeah, this is going to be very interesting. I find it ironically interesting to the fact that somehow, indirectly, if this is true, that Daniel Bryan indirectly basically handed CM Punk the night one main event of WrestleMania against Seth Rollins for the world title. And then CM Punk, 10 years earlier, quit the WWE, walked out, and inadvertently handed Daniel Bryan the main event of WrestleMania for WrestleMania 30, for anybody who doesn't remember. I find that very interesting how ironic that ends up being if CM Punk ends up main eventing night one WrestleMania 40 against Seth Rollins. I think that would be kind of interestingly ironic. But anyways, these are kind of my thoughts on the whole situation. Let me know what you guys think. Comment, rate, fix the video, my videos. Please subscribe. Hit the notification bell for all this content. And that's about it. I am the Ultimate Coco. Peace.